Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents Scents. Would you look at that? A Hawas. No way. Yes way. This one is Hawas Exotic. Came out the same time as Hawas Thunder, same time as Hawas Lava Gold, and there's also Hawas Chrome, which is gonna hit at some point. Suffice to say, there are a bunch of Hawas releases out there. Let's get things kicked off by taking a look at this presentation really quickly. Then I'll let you know whether or not Exotic is one that you need to pick up or if you should go for one of the others, or none of them. Libbugs. On the front of the box, you have the name of the fragrance, name of the flanker, sizing concentration, 100 ml eau de parfum logo up top. This one, interestingly enough, did not come with a sticker of authenticity. Rasasi, what are you doing? You gotta put the stickers on there. How am I supposed to know if this is legit or not? It is legit. I bought it from the huge store, same as the other ones. 80 bucks though, not a good deal. You know, it's the whole thing where they know it's anticipated, so they're like, let's charge them double. On the back, a little information, and on the bottom, you're gonna find your batch code, barcode, and your ingredients. And here is the bottle, kind of a mirrored finish that you can see directly through, has almost like a mustardy gold color. I know that mustard doesn't sound as great, so we'll just say gold color. On the front, you have the name of the fragrance, Rasasi on top of the cap, Rasasi on the bottom of the bottle, sticker on the back as well. Rasasi on top of the cap with the little snake that goes around the cap. The cap does click into place. Let's go ahead and do a couple sprays. Ooh, nice. Now, as I said, I bought this at the Ood store, so I'll have it linked in the description below, but I would probably wait until it hits other discounters where you can pick it up for probably 40, 45. That's what they usually go for. And when this one was announced, it was announced as an alternative to this Lamal Elixir Absolu. So the question is, how good is it as an alternative to this? And is it better than Offnon's 9 PM Elixir, which has been out for a while? Well, before we dive into that, dear bros, codes. Yes. Codes. I have coupon codes to save you money across a bunch of different discounters. So whenever this one pops up at these stores, you can use these codes to save even more money off whatever they price it at. So we got codes for JOMASHOP, Fragflex, and more. Anytime you shop at those stores, you can use those codes. You can also copy and paste the codes from the description below. All right, so Hawas Exotic, how does this open up? How does it compare to the JPG? Well, it does open up in the same general wheelhouse as the Jean Paul Gaultier, that's for sure, but it gets there with a noticeably different vibe. So I compared these side by side at the same time a few different times. Same time, a few different times, yeah. One here, one there, very scientific. Like I said, same wheelhouse, both of these. Spicy, warm, sweet, all of that's going on. But Exotic bends the profile, the scent profile, in more of a creamy, also floral direction compared to the original. So Elixir Absolu over here, that's gonna be leaning into plum, cinnamon, tonka. That's really the focal point of this scent. This one, Hawas Exotic, instead has notes like coconut and iris, which kind of throw things for a loop. You can pick up that coconut off the top pretty easily with Hawas Exotic. Like I said, it gives it sort of a creamy sweetness, but it doesn't really push the fragrance into tropical territory. Because when you look at that note breakdown, you could almost think of them going, okay, got a big brain idea. We're gonna take this and we're gonna mix it with Le Beau, right? We're gonna take two of the big JPGs and just smash them together, which actually sitting here right now, that might actually be a pretty good idea. And now I'm not totally unconvinced that that's actually what they tried to do. I'm not sure. But yeah, you get a little coconut in here, that creamy sweetness from that note, and the iris as well. Off the top, you can pick it up, but it's sitting underneath everything. So you get this like little glow from the iris almost, just peeking out from the edges. And you do have at the same time those warm sweet spices layered over top. So that's what's gonna remind you, of course, of this with this one. But it has an overall softer, smoother texture when you compare it to the Jean Paul Gaultier. This one is a little bit more brash when you first spray it on. Those spices really just kind of jump off your skin and command attention. And then you have the tonka, which kind of comes across like vanilla. You have that deep plum, that fruity sweetness from that as well, coming across in the Jean Paul Gaultier. And as Hawas Exotic dries down a little further and settles into that opening, you get the lavender that comes out. And of course, there's lavender here as well, just like pretty much all the Lamal fragrances. But the lavender in Hawas Exotic is a little bit sugary, so it has a little more sweetness to it, the way that it hits, specifically just that note. And you get more floral notes that start to come out in Hawas Exotic, which you're not gonna find over here in the Jean Paul Gaultier. Now, don't worry, it doesn't turn into like a bouquet of flowers or anything like that, but it does keep this one more in that smooth, slightly creamy side of the scent profile, whereas this one has more of an aromatic lean to it as it starts to settle down. This one just feels more zingy, has more of a noticeable resinous undertone to it, has that green cardamom that you can pick up also. I'd also say it comes across brighter, spicier, more tightly balanced, with Hawas Exotic sitting in that creamier, smoother, floral-edged vibe. And as Hawas Exotic moves into the mid, you get more of that iris coming out, and it gives you a little bit of a makeup-y undertone. So know when some people hear that, they're like, bro, I don't want that. Look, I'm a freak. You give me Dior Homme Intense, you give me Valentino Uomo Intense, Gentleman Eau de Parfum, something like that, I'm on board. You gonna give me that iris like that? You just raw dogging it? All right, let's go. I love it. Okay. Be walking down the street somewhere, you know, New York City or something, a dude steps out from an alley, trench coat on and everything. He's like, you want some fragrances? Obviously, I'm an adult. I know what's going on here. I'm gonna be like, no, you stay away from me. I don't trust like that. Then he's gonna go, these are really good iris fragrances. He's gonna go, psst, and I'm gonna go, why didn't you say so? Point me to the fragrances, sir. I trust you now. So I don't mind it, but yeah, you get a little bit of that makeup undertone. You do. Not as hardcore as Dior Homme Intense or those other fragrances that are more well known for having that kind of vibe. Not even remotely close to that level, but you can pick up a little bit of that starting to kind of poke through the seams as it dries down. So not full on powder bomb, but it does take this one in a little bit of a different direction compared to the more ambery, spicy, warm, sweet scent profile that this one settles on in the mid. At that point, this one is pushing harder into the tonka, the benzoin, remnants of the cinnamon, the cardamom, little bits of that plum that carry over into the mid. That's what this one is about. With, of course, that lavender kind of cutting through and giving it that Lamal edge. With Hawas Exotic, the spices are dialed back. You can pick them up, but they're not as prevalent. They're toned down. And that creamy coconut iris becomes more of the focal point of the scent. You still do have a little bit of that lightly sugared crust to the fragrance with Hawas Exotic through the mid, and it slowly gets a warm amber note that starts to build up as you head into the dry down. And it's not the type of amber that makes the fragrance feel darker or really dense or anything like that. It's still smooth and has that, you know, that creamy edge like it had in the opening. So especially through the mid and into the early part of the dry down, the easiest way to think of Hawas Exotic is take Elixir Absolu, add creamy coconut, creamy iris, raise the floral volume along the edges of the scent, tone down the spices, and swap some of that bite that Elixir Absolu has for a smoother, lightly crystallized, sugary amber in the base. Now into the full dry down, these two get a little bit closer, which has seemed to be a common thread with these new Hawas releases. Hawas Exotic, silky, smooth, light powdery touch once you hit that full dry down, and overall in that full dry down, really polished. Elixir Absolu, I would say, still holds on to more of that spice even into the full dry down, has a little more pop to it as well. And I would say that's the main dry down distinction between the two, if you're talking the full dry down, is that Hawas Exotic still leans into that creamy side of things, smooth, silky, less woody, less spicy, with Absolu having a little more texture to it in that full dry down. The spice, the tonka, vanilla sort of vibe, all of that coming through more clearly. Let's talk performance. Hawas Exotic, what was that? Hawas Exotic, it's gotta perform. Performance. And it does perform. It hangs with Lamal Elixir Absolu. It may not project quite as heavily, especially as it dries down, and that's gonna be because of just kind of the way the fragrance is made. This one has more of those jumpy, lively, zingy, spicy notes. This one tones that down, and so just because of that, when you're wearing them side by side, it feels like this one has a little more pop to it as it dries. But realistically, outside of that, Hawas Exotic hangs right there with Lamal Elixir Absolu, and this is a really strong fragrance. So I mean, that tells you pretty much everything. It's got great staying power, great projection. Actually, I'm wearing both of these right now as well. Yeah, it's right there. In terms of seasonality, for me, fall, winter leans evening use. Even though it's named exotic and you would think it's gonna have more of a tropical freshness to it, it's not something that I personally would really reach for in spring or summer. Maybe like spring evenings, possibly. I think you could pull it off then. but outside that, like fall and winter. Now, I've said this with all of the new Hawas releases, but I'll say it again, $80 is overpriced. I would not suggest for you to buy this at all at 80 bucks. If you need an Elixir Absolu alternative for some reason, and you gotta have it right now, I would get 9 PM Elixir. Where that one is priced right now, that makes way more sense than overpaying for this at 80 bucks. New release or not. Now, all that aside, is this actually any good? Well, it performs well and it does a really good job at taking Le Mans Elixir Absolu and giving it a twist. This is absolutely not a one-to-one. This is firmly in that style of fragrance where you say it's inspired by something, but with a twist. And as you know, the twist with this one, taking that spice level, moving it down, adding some creamy nuances, the coconut, the iris, and giving it a little bit of its own identity. So if, for example, with Elixir Absolu, the way that the spice is balanced in this one is too much for you, too assertive, too in your face, whatever, then this may actually appeal more to you because of the way that they've toned that down, added in that coconut, added in that creamy sweetness. So that's all great, but if you ask me, okay, which one of these would you take? You can only take one. This or this, I would take the Jean Paul Gaultier. I just like the way this one comes across a little bit more. That said, Hawas Exotic still really, really good, but which should you take between this and 9 PM Elixir, which is of course this one right here, again, by Offnon, which has been out for a little while now. Both of these are good. I would say that 9 PM Elixir probably would appeal more to you if you're looking for something kind of in this wheelhouse, but with less sweetness, definitely less creamy, especially compared to Hawas Exotic. And 9 PM Elixir compared to Hawas Exotic is gonna have way more of that spiciness for sure. So really, which one is better between this and this? You know, kind of 6 half dozen. It depends on what you're after. If you want more of the spiciness, you get this one. If you want more of the creaminess with the spices toned down, you get this one. All right, pros and cons. First, the pros. Smells good, performs well. Sometimes that's all you want, and this does that. The creamy coconut, the iris, it's done well. It gives it a counterpoint. It gives it its own identity compared to the original. The dry down is silky smooth. The amber is polished and not too sweet. It's also a really good option for somebody who wants to take on Elixir Absolu, but they want that spiciness softened up. Now the cons, it is overpriced. As I've mentioned before, it's overpriced, 80 bucks, no go. For me, it's not quite as special as Elixir Absolu. That floral cosmetic lean that it has at times also may not be for everybody. And as of this video, there are better options out there if you're looking for something a little more affordable. So there's my take on the new Hawas Exotic, a nice alternative to Elixir Absolu. I'd say all 3 of the new Hawas releases are pretty good. They all have different strengths and weaknesses. I think if I were gonna keep just one of them, it would be probably Lava Gold, possibly Thunder. Not that I dislike this one is solid as well. That's just kind of where I'm leaning at the moment. So there we go, guys. That is the new Hawas Exotic. Again, linked in the description, but I wouldn't jump and pay 80 bucks for it. Wait for it to hit 40, something like that, and then you're right in that sweet Hawas spot. Sweet Hawas spot, you know what I'm saying. I wanna thank you guys for hanging with me here until the end. Stay safe out there, take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.